Rambam. We continue with the laws. The Holy Temple had to do with offerings. Hilchos Shkagos, which means when you inadvertently did a sin, you have to bring an offering. So when witnesses testify the person violated a transgression that is punishable by a fixed sin offering, but they did not warn him. Instead, they told him, "We saw that you performed a forbidden labor on Shabbos, or that you partook of forbidden fat." And he replied, I know that I did not perform that act. He's not liable for a sin offering. Why? Witnesses, you know, testified that he did it, right? So why wouldn't he be liable for a sin offering? Even though he said not the rationales of the sins, he would be exempt from bringing a sacrifice. If he said, I acted intentionally, right? You only bring a sin offering if you were unintentional in your act of transgressing a forbidden labor on Shabbos, for example, right? But if he would have said, I acted intentionally, then he would not have been, he would be exempt from bringing a sacrifice, right? So when he says, I did not eat or did not perform, it is as if he said, I did not eat inadvertently, but rather intentionally, in which instance he's exempt from bringing a sacrifice and did not contradict the witnesses. Well, no, he's not being honest, right? Because he's saying I didn't, meaning I didn't do it unintentionally, I did it intentionally. Right? That way, what the witnesses and what he are saying are not contradiction to each other. If the alleged transgressor remains silent, did not contradict the witnesses, indeed, even if a woman told him, you partook of forbidden fat or forbidden labor on Shabbos, and he remains silent, he's liable to bring a sin offering, because that means he is being silent is an acceptance, and therefore he'd be obligated to bring a sin offering. One witness told him this is forbidden fat, and he remained silent, and then he partook of it inadvertently, must bring a sin offering. What's going on here? Like he was told, but it didn't register with him. That's what I'm understanding over here. And he did it inadvertently. If he warned him, he is liable for lashes, even though the essence of testimony depends on one witness. So if he got warned, then you're liable for lashes. I've already explained in Hilchos Psulei Mukdashim that a person who set aside a sin offering for eating forbidden fat should not bring it for the desecration of the Shabbos or for taking of blood. A person who set aside a sin offering for eating forbidden fat, so he shouldn't bring it for the desecration of Shabbos or for partaking of blood. In other words, you put it aside for one sin, let's say, and you sin another sin, don't bring it for that sin. And he shall bring his sacrifice and the she-goat for the transgression he committed. Sacrifice must be for the sake of the particular sin. So when you set it aside, I'm bringing this for this sin, you now can't change it. One should not offer one designated for one sin for another. If he offered it, he disqualifies it. In addition, our sages said, that if one set aside a sin offering for forbidden fat that he ate on a previous day, he should not bring it for fat that he eats on the present day, even though it's the same sin, right? But he has to bring two offerings. he set it aside for yesterday, not for today. Nevertheless, if he brings it for that purpose, he finds atonement. But if he did it, he does get atonement because it is of the same sin. Needless to say, if a father sets aside a sin offering and dies, and the son is liable for that same transgression, the son should not bring the father's sacrifice for the transgression as explained there. So, because it's a different person. If it's the same person, just different days for the same sin. So even though you shouldn't do it but if you did it, then you get atonement. But if it's not a different day, a different person, right? Father set aside, he passed away. He doesn't need the sin offering, right? Death is an atonement itself. Very interesting. Huh? No, it's not. No, because it's a different day, even though you shouldn't do it. But if you did, it's the same person, same sin, just different day. Here, it's a different person. Number 4, when a person brings an animal as a sin offering for 2 transgressions, he should be left to pasture until he contracts a disqualifying blemish and be sold. Half the proceeds should be used for a sin offering and for 1 transgression, and half the sin offering for the second transgression. So you have two different sins, you have 2 different offerings. You can't bring one for 2. There's some holiness to it though. Is that the front door? But there's still some holiness to it. So therefore it has to go to pasture. Then it gets a blemish, holiness is gone, and therefore you sell it and then use half. Similarly, 2 people bring 1 animal as a sin offering for 2 transgressions. It should be left to pasture until it contracts a disqualifying blemish and be sold. One should bring his sin offering with half the proceeds, the other should bring his sin offering with the other half. If one brings 2 animals as sin offerings for 1 transgression, should sacrifice whichever one he desires. So here he brought 2 animals, but he's only obliged to bring 1. So bring the one that you want, and the second should be left to pasture until it contracts its disqualifying blemish and be sold. A free will offering, right, which is a korban nedava, meaning you're not obliged, but it's a free will, should be brought with those proceeds. But you're obliged now because what happened is once you set it aside, you're setting aside of an animal for an offering is bringing holiness to it. Number 6, if, however, a person brings 2 animals for sin offerings for 2 transgressions without specifying the transgression which each sacrifice is being brought, he should make the determination and slaughter one of them for 1 transgression, the other for the second. So now you put it aside, but you didn't decide what's for what. So before you slaughter it, right, choose which one is for which, and then slaughter it. Then it's okay. Even though the preferred way is, of course, when you set it aside, you set it aside specifically. Halacha number 7. We already explained in Hilchos Ma'aseh our carbonas that no sacrifices at all are accepted from an apostate who worships idols or desecrates Shabbos in public. When a person is an apostate with regard to a particular sin, we do not accept a sin offering for him for that sin. So what's implied? If a person is an apostate with regard to partaking of forbidden fat, this person loves forbidden fat, right? That's his thing, right? And then he inadvertently partook of the fat. Oh, now he wants to bring us an offering for the transgression. It's not accepted until he repents. In other words, like the whole point of bringing an offering is you're doing tshuva. If you're not being, real and honest, and you're bringing it, but this is something you constantly do, and all of a sudden now you did it accidentally, and like, who are you fooling over here? Do tshuva, then we'll take it. Yeah. If he was an apostate with regard to partaking of forbidden fat to fulfill his desire and wants, he accidentally partook of forbidden fat instead of permitted fat, and he brought a sacrifice for atonement, it is not accepted from him. Since he partook of the forbidden fat willfully, whether to purposely anger God or to merely to fulfill his desires, he is considered as an apostate with regard to that transgression. If a person was an apostate regarding partaking of forbidden fat and then inadvertently partook of blood, he accepts as a sin offering he brings for partaking of blood, as we explained. Right? In other words, that's not his sin. His sin is fat. He loves forbidden fat. It is so tasty, right? But forbidden blood, he doesn't do that. He doesn't transgress that. Now, inadvertently, he had forbidden fat, so he can bring. Eyes might say, what kind of tshuva? You're still doing things that are against the Torah. That's true, but not this act, right? Which is an interesting idea. Very interesting idea. Okay, I have to stop here. All right, folks.
Thank you.
6:30,
Bye.
and we'll keep you posted.